Hello, Glenn Perry. Welcome to the Third Dimension Show. I am Michelle Sanders. I am your host for today. It is a pleasure and exciting to have you with us today, Mr. Glenn Perry. Let's get started. Glenn, you had a brain stroke. So sorry to hear about that. Could you tell us all in details about the brain stroke?
I don't really know what happened. I was in the hotel room. And while I was in the hotel, I felt this massive kind of bulldozer on my head. It was almost like an earthquake or a tsunami that blasted my head. And I had this monstrous headache. And the headache grew larger and larger. It was almost like 99 hammers on my head, and they were like bulldozers. And I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I started puking. I was really puking a lot. And I tried to stand up and I couldn't even stand. I realized something's wrong. And then I had this severe, fatal pain in my heart. And for the moment I thought, okay, it's just a headache and it's this monstrous headache and it'll go away. But as I tried to stand up, I realized I was falling down. So I just lay in bed and there was a phone by the bedside. I picked up the phone, but the phone would not work. Maybe I just didn't know how to operate it. I was kind of dazed. I was totally in a complete daze. Everything around me was spinning. I didn't know where I was. It looked as though the ceiling had fallen down and I was looking at the open sky, and then the sky was going to fall down on me, and all sorts of crazy emotions were going through my body. My mind was just exploding. So my sixth sense, my senses told me, go call the reception. So from the bed, I dropped myself down onto the floor, and the phone was on the other side of the room. So I crawled and I crawled and I crawled until I reached that table where the phone was. And I picked the phone and I said, hey operator, I think I'm having a heart attack. And that's all I remember. I fell on the floor.
What happened after that?
I don't remember anything after that. The next thing I know, I was in the hospital. I woke up in the hospital. The hotel called the ambulance, I suppose, and took me off to the hospital. And I was in a coma for many days. I don't recollect anything.
What did you hear? Could you remember anything?
So the only thing I remember is wake up, my mind telling me wake up. The mind is so powerful. Never underestimate the power of the mind. The mind is very powerful. The mind can move things for you. The mind can do whatever you want it to do. It's the mind that controls the body. And I woke up from a coma. I was in the ICU. I woke up after a few days, I suppose. And I looked around the walls and I was here. I realized, man, I'm in a hospital. Something's happened. And I kept asking the nurses and doctors what happened. And they said, you've had a brain stroke. And I said, no way. Me have a brain stroke? No way. Because I've always imagined myself to be invulnerable. We all have that tendency, oh, we're this natural creation. And I've had that same kind of thing, that I'm invulnerable and I would never get sick. But finally I came to realize that I'm also human like everyone, and every human goes through every kind of disaster in their lives, whether it's once, twice, or forever. Disasters, like natural disasters, we are struck by catastrophes. And these tragedies sometimes leave scars that are incurable, scars that are not washable. But fortunately, I don't consider myself to be strong. I would like to think that I'm strong. So with me, it's mind control. It's mind control.
Tell us, what did you do in the hospital?
What did I do in the hospital? I just lay down in bed like for 22 days, and the doctor said, no, you can't play your guitar because the guitar has some kind of frequencies that affect the brains. You shouldn't be playing the guitar. But I was very adamant. I was so adamant, I said, no, I want my guitar. Guitar is my greatest medicine. And when I got the guitar, I realized my whole arm was like with needles and cannula, and I had needles all over me, and I couldn't move. So I decided, okay, I don't have hands. My left hand was completely paralyzed. This is what happens when the right side of your brain gets affected or damaged. The entire left side of your body paralyzes. And that's what happened to me. I was paralyzed in my entire left side, so my left hand was not working. So what I decided to do, I tried to move and play the guitar. I couldn't do it. So I said, okay, let me try playing with my legs. So I put the guitar down on my legs and slowly started playing with my toes and my feet. So that's mind control. No, I never give up. I don't give up. If you give up, you fail. And I'm not a failure. I don't want to be a failure. I've come through my life and through my experiences. I work hard. I know that the only possible way is working hard and not giving up. If you give up, you perish. So I didn't give up. I continued playing with my leg, and I played the guitar every day. And my kind of therapy was to work my brains. And how I did that, I would sing, although I couldn't sing because something happened to my vocal cords. So I would continuously sing in my mind. I was singing, I was writing songs. I was writing a lot of songs in my mind, and I kept my mind kind of rejuvenating, re-enhancing itself. The mind is very powerful. Like every morning, I even noticed the time. At 4 in the morning, a nurse would come and take blood, and the nurses all day would come and give me injections. I must have had over 120 injections. Very painful. They were really painful. One day they even put, not one day, quite a few times, there were injections in my stomach. Really painful. So I controlled my mind with my mind to diminish the pain or to even forget about the pain. So you see the mind is so powerful. It's not the only time I realized the mind is powerful, because I've been struck by quite a few disasters over my life, because I work in tsunamis and earthquakes and storms, and I worked in every big disaster, and I've been hit by a lot of catastrophes. I've been through many tragedies like accidents and falls, and but I could stand up. But the brain stroke, no, I couldn't. I lost control. It wasn't in my power. It was out of my control. I needed medical help, and that's why I was in the hospital. 22 days in the hospital, no, it's not being in the hospital, but for me, oh man, I wasted 22 days of my life. I could be jamming, I could be on stage playing music, and I could be recording. And that's the only thing that was filtering through my mind, and I was just waiting to get up. All along in my mind, I knew I had this positive attitude. No, I'm going to get out of here. Sooner or later, I'm going to get out of here.
I'm so sorry, Glenn, for all that you have been through. What is one incident that was the most unexpected?
Strange and sad moment that happened was, see, I couldn't even have a shower on my own. So for the first time, like in a few weeks, the nurses took me to the washroom and gave me a bath. They were pouring hot water on me, and I said, man, this is so cold. I want hot water. I don't want a cold water bath, because it was August, and August is like pretty cold. So they went back and they brought another bucket of hot water and they poured it on me. I said, it's so cold, can't you get me hot water? And the nurses went and did that maybe 9 or 10 times, getting hottest water, and they said, this is hot steaming water. And they poured it again, and I said, no, it's so cold. Don't you realize and don't you understand I'm telling you get me hot water? So then I took the bucket. I took water from the bucket and I poured it on me, and I go, oh! It was boiling hot. It burned my skin. And at that instant it dawned on me that the doctor said that your left side was paralyzed. So the steaming hot water that was being poured onto my left side of my body, there was no sensation. I couldn't feel it. It was all so cold, although it was sizzling, boiling hot. I couldn't feel it. And just a drop, or probably just a cup of water on my left side, it was sore, it was burning. I went quiet. I said, oh man, the whole left side is paralyzed. The doctor was right. So I let them give me a bath, and I went and I sat in bed. I lay down and I started to cry. I don't know why I was crying, but in the hospital I cried a lot. I would cry every day. I've never cried in my life. I probably remember I cried when I was a kid. But after that, any pain, the monstrous, astronomical pain, I wouldn't cry. But I was crying in bed every day in the hospital. I don't even know. But when I think about it, and a few times I asked myself why I was crying, I told myself I'm crying because I can't play my guitar. I can't do my music. And that's why I was crying. I cried a lot, and each time I couldn't play the guitar, it brought tears to my eyes.
I'm so very sorry, Glenn. Tell us about the concert.
Well, although I couldn't do the concert on the 10th of August, the day I landed Goa, and I was to do a concert, but all along I was planning the concert in the hospital 22 days later. 22 days later. It was time that I could go. So from the hospital, I woke up from the hospital and I went straight to the concert hall to play a concert. And everybody said, no, you shouldn't be playing a concert. That's sadism, that's suicidal. But I said, no, I must do this concert. I was in a wheelchair, and there were doctors at the concert hall, there were many nurses. In a wheelchair, I was taken up, lifted on the stage for about 6 nurses, and I sat down in a wheelchair and I played the concert. I had a big cannula in my arm, in my right arm. The cannula, a big needle was in. With the needle I was playing. Doctors and everyone said, oh, he's not gonna last for more than 5 or 10 minutes. The doctor said, oh, just get it off your head. 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum. But all along in my mind, I said, no, I'm going to play. I'm going to do this. I went up on stage and I performed the first song and the second and the third. And I did the concert for 2 hours, non-stop, singing and playing guitar, playing elaborate solos and extensive guitar solos and whacking away the guitar. And my voice got stronger, and after every song it kept getting more and more powerful. In the middle of the concert it was like, hey man, nothing's wrong to me, I'm back to normality. But I was sitting in a wheelchair. And people were applauding, and it was so nice. They were all so happy. At the end of the concert, I was drained. Everyone left, and I sat down in the audience seat, looking at, I won. I won. I beat the brain stroke. And that's all I kept saying, man, I beat the brain stroke.
What did you do after the concert?
Yeah, from the concert hall, I was taken in a wheelchair all the way to the hotel. In the lift with a wheelchair, I was carried by the nurses, put on bed. And it was a miracle. It was a miracle. It was miraculous the next morning. I woke up. I got off bed. I didn't have the handrest. And I walked. I walked alone because there was no one in the room with me. And I walked and I walked all around the room, in the balcony. And for the first time in like 22 days, I went to the bathroom and I had a shower, all alone. It gave me such a great sense of winning. It was a great sense of accomplishment. It was success. I succeeded. I never gave up. It's the mind. I controlled my mind. I came to realize that the mind controls the body.
What therapy did you do?
But my therapy was playing the piano. I started playing piano and I started strumming the guitar. An intense whacking the guitar with all finger tapping and doing all kind of acrobatic guitar playing and acrobatic piano playing. That was my therapy. And singing. Singing has so much of power. Singing touches all these nerves. Singing have we have a lot of nerves. The vagus nerve is such an important part of the body. It controls a lot of part. That's when I discovered that the vagus nerve, the stimulation of the vagus nerve, cures a lot of problems. It heals. It has healing effects. The vagus nerve. It's not only the vagus nerve, it's all the cranial nerves. So singing relaxes the mind and controls the body. It relaxes the vocal cords, so the cranial nerve runs all over through the body. So I kept exercising through my mind.
Please could you share a message?
To all the kids, stay away from drugs. Drugs is a menace. Drug kills. Drug is your greatest enemy. Stay away from drugs. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I don't drink. So why should you? Even vaping is bad. Drugs is just a misconception. Drugs is your greatest enemy. Drugs will kill you. Stay away from drugs. I love you. I love you.